My girlfriend texted, "I'm going to be an influencer. Support my dreams or get out," while maxing out my credit card. I replied, "Following my dreams too." Her influence dropped to zero when she found the fraud reports I filed. I, 29M, stared at my phone screen, reading the text message for the third time. The words burned into my retinas like a brand. "I'm going to be an influencer. Support my dreams or get out." My girlfriend had sent this while I was at work, grinding through another 12-hour shift at the construction site. My hands were still caked with concrete dust when I opened the notification. What made it worse was the context. She'd just maxed out my credit card on what she called essential influencer equipment. 3 months earlier, everything seemed normal. We'd been together for 2 years, living in my apartment, splitting expenses fairly. She worked part-time at a coffee shop while pursuing her art degree. I respected her creative ambitions and supported them financially when needed. But something shifted after she started following lifestyle influencers obsessively. The transformation was gradual at first. She began taking endless photos of her meals, rearranging furniture for better lighting, and spending hours researching camera equipment. I thought it was just a phase. Creative people explored different outlets, right? Then came the purchases. A professional ring light appeared in our living room. Next, a high-end camera with multiple lenses. When I asked about the expenses, she brushed off my concerns, claiming these were investments in our future. She'd make it all back once her follower count grew. The credit card statements told a different story. $5,000 in debt within 6 weeks. Photography equipment, designer clothes for outfit posts, expensive skincare products for unboxing videos, and premium editing software subscriptions. Every purchase was justified as absolutely necessary for her brand. I tried discussing budgets and financial responsibility. She accused me of crushing her dreams and being unsupportive. According to her, I was holding her back from achieving greatness. Real partners, she insisted, would sacrifice for each other's success. The breaking point came when I discovered she'd applied for additional credit cards using my information. My credit score had dropped significantly, and I was receiving calls from collection agencies about accounts I never opened. When confronted, she claimed she needed the money for a collaboration opportunity that would launch her career. That evening, after receiving her ultimatum text, I sat in my truck outside our apartment building, thinking. She wanted me to choose between supporting her influencer dreams or leaving. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd made that choice impossible by destroying my financial stability. I walked into the apartment to find her setting up another product placement shoot. Packages from various companies covered our dining table. She was arranging skincare bottles and supplements, preparing for what she called sponsored content. When I asked about payment for these promotions, she admitted most were unpaid collaborations for exposure. She'd been living a fantasy, spending real money on imaginary income. Her follower count had grown to barely 300 people, mostly friends and family. Her engagement rates were dismal, with posts receiving single-digit likes. Yet she continued purchasing equipment and products, convinced that success was just one viral post away. That night, I began documenting everything. Screenshots of unauthorized transactions, photos of unopened packages, records of debt accumulation. I researched credit fraud procedures and consumer protection laws. If she wanted to play games with my financial future, I'd play by official rules. The next morning, I filed fraud reports with all 3 credit bureaus. I contacted my bank and credit card companies, explaining the unauthorized usage and requesting investigations. I provided detailed evidence of transactions made without my knowledge or consent. Within hours, the accounts were frozen pending investigation. Every credit card she'd been using suddenly stopped working. The fancy lifestyle she'd been financing came to an abrupt halt. Her reaction was explosive. She accused me of sabotaging her career and ruining her life. I explained calmly that filing fraud reports was protecting my financial future from unauthorized usage. She'd made choices. Now she was experiencing consequences. Over the following days, I watched her influencer fantasy crumble. Without access to credit for new purchases, her content creation stopped. The steady stream of unboxing videos and product reviews dried up. Companies stopped sending collaboration packages when she couldn't afford shipping for returns or couldn't purchase their products for featured posts. Her follower count began declining as engagement disappeared. The algorithm stopped promoting her dormant content. Brands removed her from influencer databases due to inactivity. Everything she'd built on borrowed money vanished within weeks. I moved out while she dealt with the legal ramifications of the fraud investigation. My lawyer advised keeping detailed records of all unauthorized transactions and their impact on my credit history. The evidence was overwhelming. She'd forged signatures, used my personal information without consent, and accumulated debt in my name. Update 1. 2 weeks after filing the reports, I received a call from a financial crimes investigator. They wanted to discuss the case in detail and gather additional evidence. I provided bank statements, credit reports, and documentation showing the pattern of unauthorized usage. The investigator explained that credit fraud cases like mine were increasingly common, especially in relationships where one partner had access to the other's personal information. They assured me that my proactive documentation would help resolve the case quickly. Meanwhile, my girlfriend had moved back with her parents. Her social media presence became increasingly desperate, with posts begging followers to support her content and share her videos. She started a crowdfunding campaign to help with her financial difficulties, claiming she was a victim of circumstance. The campaign raised $47. Her former coffee shop wouldn't rehire her due to the erratic schedule she'd maintained while pursuing influencer fame. She'd burned bridges with coworkers by constantly promoting her social media during shifts and asking customers to follow her accounts. I felt conflicted watching her struggle. Part of me remembered the woman I'd fallen in love with, ambitious, creative, full of dreams. But those dreams had mutated into delusions that cost me thousands of dollars and nearly ruined my credit. Update 2. A month later, the fraud investigation concluded in my favor. The credit bureaus removed all unauthorized accounts from my report, and my score began recovering. The debt accumulated through fraudulent applications was forgiven, saving me from years of financial hardship. My girlfriend faced legal consequences for the fraud. She was required to attend financial responsibility courses and perform community service. A civil judgment was entered against her for the amounts fraudulently charged, though collecting would be difficult given her lack of income. She attempted reconciliation several times, claiming she'd learned from her mistakes and wanted to rebuild our relationship. She promised to abandon the influencer dream and focus on stable employment. Each conversation revealed she still didn't fully understand the gravity of what she'd done or its impact on my life. I'd moved into a smaller apartment and was rebuilding my financial stability. The experience taught me valuable lessons about trust, boundaries, and the importance of protecting personal information. I'd been naive to assume love meant unlimited access to everything I owned. Her influencer accounts eventually went dormant. The last post was 3 months ago, a half-hearted product review for a vitamin supplement company that probably never paid her. Her follower count had dropped to under 100 active users. I sometimes wondered if she'd learned anything from the experience or if she blamed me entirely for her failures. The woman who demanded I support her dreams or leave had discovered that dreams built on fraud and delusion don't last. Update 3. 6 months after everything collapsed, I ran into her at a grocery store. She was working as a cashier, looking tired but more grounded than I'd seen her in years. We exchanged awkward pleasantries, and she mentioned she was taking night classes to finish her degree. She apologized for the financial damage and the way things ended. It felt genuine, not like the manipulative apologies she'd offered during our breakup. She acknowledged that her behavior had been unrealistic and harmful. I asked about her influencer aspirations. She laughed bitterly and said that experience had taught her the difference between dreams and delusions. Real success, she'd learned, required legitimate work and sustainable planning, not just wishful thinking and other people's money. We didn't exchange contact information or make plans to reconnect. Too much damage had been done for friendship, and I was in a healthy relationship with someone who understood financial responsibility. But seeing her taking practical steps toward stability felt like closure. The fraud case was officially closed, and my credit had fully recovered. I'd saved enough money to make a down payment on a small house, something that would have been impossible if I'd continued enabling her spending habits. Sometimes I think about what might have happened if I'd chosen differently that day when she sent her ultimatum text. If I'd continued supporting her influencer fantasy, we'd both be drowning in debt right now, and she'd probably still be chasing an impossible dream. Instead, her influence dropped to zero when she discovered I was following my dreams too. Dreams that included financial security honest relationships, and partners who understood that support doesn't mean unlimited access to someone else's resources. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd wanted to influence others, but couldn't even influence herself toward making responsible decisions. In the end, the only person whose behavior I could control was my own. Filing those fraud reports had been about protecting my future, not destroying hers. She'd chosen her path when she decided my credit cards were her business investment fund. I'd simply chosen mine when I decided to follow legal procedures for addressing financial fraud. Both choices had consequences, but only one of us had accepted responsibility for those outcomes. The experience taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's destructive behavior, even when they call it dreams. Real dreams don't require stealing from people who care about you. Real support doesn't mean sacrificing your own stability for someone else's fantasy. Her influence had indeed dropped to zero, but not because I'd sabotaged her career. It dropped because influences built on fraud, delusion, and other people's money aren't sustainable. The market had simply corrected itself, and reality had finally caught up with her inflated sense of her own potential. I was following my dreams too, dreams of financial stability, honest relationships, and a future built on legitimate work rather than borrowed money and false promises. Those dreams were proving much more sustainable than hers had ever been. If you'd like to see more stories like this, a gentle tap on the subscribe button would mean the world to us. Please subscribe.